Peter Rabbit 2 is the latest movie from Sony Pictures. It stars a voice cast led by James Corden and Margot Robbie, as well as live-action turns from Domhnall Gleeson, Rose Byrne and David Oyelowo. Before we get into this, don't forget to hit that like button down below. It does wonders in getting my videos out there, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to keep up to date with all my content. B. Thomas and the Rabbits have created a makeshift family, but despite his best efforts, Peter can't seem to shake his mischievous reputation. Adventuring out of the garden, Peter finds himself in a world where his mischief is appreciated, but when his family risks everything to come looking for him, Peter must figure out what kind of bunny he wants to be. Peter Rabbit 2, or Peter Rabbit the Runaway, as it's being released under in the USA when it comes out in a couple of months' time over there, is of course the sequel to 2018's Peter Rabbit, which is based on the stories of Beatrix Potter. Now, as a child, I grew up with the stories of Beatrix Potter. I was read to them by my mother when I was very, very young. Whether we talk about the stories of Peter Rabbit, or Benjamin Bunny, or the Flopsy Bunnies, or Jemima Puddle Duck, or Mr. Todd the Fox, etc., etc., all these wonderful characters. They're all characters that I just love deeply today. It's like a real primal love for these characters, their stories, and their world. I mean, they're on the same level as Winnie the Pooh and Paddington Bear to me. So I was really excited to go and check out this movie and have another adventure in this world of Beatrix Potter. Now, that said, the first movie was a movie that didn't really work that well for me. It's not a movie that I really loved. There were certain things about it that just didn't hit me in the right way. I think a lot of the kind of over-the-top comedy, slapstick comedy and stuff really just didn't sit that well with me. I know it's a kids movie, so it's really gonna have this real kind of kid level humor, but I feel like it kind of overdid it a bit too much. You know, the musical sequences and stuff didn't really work well for me either. But look, I wanted to go into this sequel with an open mind because, again, I just wanted to go and have another adventure with these characters that I have just loved so deeply for, you know, almost 30 years. And I'm really glad that I did, because it's a movie that I really enjoyed, and I enjoyed this much more than I did the first one. I think maybe it's because a lot of the stuff that I didn't like so much in the first one was actually toned down quite a bit in this. We talk about like musical numbers, there's not really many of them, and where there are in here, they're so small and so minuscule, and they're actually, I feel like they're actually really organic to the story and the movie itself, so that worked okay for me. And the humor, yes, there's a lot of like over-the-top slapstick kind of comedy and stuff, but not so much, not as much of it, and it's not as extreme. There's one sequence in the middle which is a lot like really full-on slapstick stuff, but I actually found myself really laughing and having a really good time with it. The story itself kind of scales back a little bit as well. It's a story that really focuses on character. Peter Rabbit, he's going through like this existential crisis. He's having like I guess a journey of self-discovery where he's learning his worth in the world. He has kind of left the family farm to go off and I guess find himself, and he's picked up along the way by a grifter. It brings in these real kind of Dickensian themes. I mean, if you think about Oliver Twist, where he's turned into a pickpocket, well, this is essentially the same thing, where he is picked up by this grifter, he's indoctrinated into a gang, and essentially ends up making him do his dirty work for him and stealing, you know, fresh produce from humans and stuff. And the second, third act of the film become like this big heist movie, and it's so much fun. And likewise, so are the human characters as well. You've got Bee, who is writing the Peter Rabbit books, and she is going through this crisis. She, of course, at the end of the first movie, she wrote the Peter Rabbit book, and in this one, she is discovered by a like world-renowned publisher who wants to publish her book on a wide scale and get her to run like 25 sequels, but ends up pushing her to write them in a direction so far away from what she wants to do with the characters. So she then goes through this journey of deciding whether this is right for her or whether this is wrong. So I feel like on both spectrums, with the animated characters and the human characters, they're both going through these real kind of heavy emotional issues. And for me, it just connected a lot more than the more kind of generic kind of story that came out of the first one. And a lot of this movie is very, very generic, but that said, it is a kids movie. You get a lot of the tropes that you would expect from a kids movie. These existential dramas and stuff have, you know, have been injected into kids movies a lot recently, and it is the same kind of story and the same kind of story beats that we have seen a lot in, I guess, again, in very recent times. It's becoming a very recurring thing. But you kind of got to expect that for a movie that is predominantly aimed towards children and towards families. They got to be simple, they got to be scaled back. But again, I feel like this movie does go quite deep. And that's something that I just really admired about it. There is a lot of stuff that you're going to find in here to enjoy, kind of as an adult, as there is a lot of stuff for the kids to enjoy as well. So I just really loved kind of the directions it went with these really fantastic, heartfelt, beautiful stories that really do have a core message to them. The animation here is wonderful as well. I really love how these characters have been brought to life. Their designs are terrific, so traditional. You know, it's like they've leaped straight out of the books. You know, and the fur and everything just looks so real, and it just blends in with that live action world so beautifully. The human characters are so good as well. Domhnall Gleeson delivers just such a wonderfully kind of madcap, really awkward kind of performance. I think he was just terrific in this, and Rose Byrne is just so tender and sweet and charming as well in this. David Oyelowo is in here too. He plays the publisher who wants to publish her books, and he's so much fun as well. He's one of the closest thing the film has in the human parts to an antagonist, and he just delivers his lines with a real dry wit and a real kind of dry like charm as well, and he's so much fun. There's a couple of scenes between him and Domhnall Gleeson that are just really fun. Overall, I really did enjoy this movie, and again, it hit me in a way that the first one didn't. I felt like I connected with it on a larger level. Look, this movie is like close to perfect for the kind of movie that it's trying to be. You can't be too judgmental on something like this. The kids in the audience really seem to love it, so I think it's done its job. And it just look, this I would recommend if you have a young family, take them out to see this movie, because it really is just so charming and so whimsical and so beautiful that it's just a wonderful day out for the family. If you're an adult like me, or a child at heart who loves these characters, loves this world, I'd say go and see it as well, because there's a lot in here to love on a more kind of adult level, and in the character work, the more kind of deeply existential stuff that the journey these characters are going on. There's a lot to connect with there. And at that, I'm happy to give Peter Rabbit 2 3.5 out of 5. Peter Rabbit 2 is a cute family flick with fun characters and a charming story with lots of heart and great messages. A little generic, yeah, but this is a kids film after all, and there's a lot to offer for its core audience. And at that, I'm throwing it over to you guys out there. I want to know, are you looking forward to seeing Peter Rabbit 2 or Peter Rabbit the Runaway, depending where you are in the world? Fire away with all those thoughts down in the comments below. I'd love to read them. I'd love to see what people are thinking about this movie. Thanks to the wonderful team over at Sony Pictures Australia for inviting me along to this wonderful screening of Peter Rabbit 2 for the purposes of this review. And thanks to everybody out there for watching. I'll see you later. Take it easy. Hey everyone, if you haven't yet, smash that big old subscribe button up on your screen to keep up to date with all my content, and hit that like button down below. Also, don't forget to check me out on social media, and please consider supporting me over on Patreon for as little as $1 a month for exclusive videos, early access content, and to get your name up on the screen. Thanks again for watching.